And welcome to another Bringing the Thunder. We've got another exciting Kata exercise waiting for you. And I have a new guest with me. Seppe is here as well. He's going to be showing us, I think it's about hardening the security around DataMiner. Because you're like the expert. So tell me about who are you, Seppe? Who are you? What do you do here at Skyline?
So I'm Seppe. I'm information security specialist here at Skyline, and my main responsibility is to make DataMiner more secure.
Yes. And
the thing that I'm going to talk about today is a new BPA that was released in the latest feature release, 10.4.5. And that BPA will just check your entire DataMiner agent and report back which configuration changes you can make to make your DataMiner system more secure. Okay. It will be like...
Okay, and so for the people who might not be aware, like a BPA, what is a BPA exactly?
Yeah, so BPA is short for Best Practice Analyzer. There are a bunch of them in DataMiner already. And they will just check a certain piece of your system, run some code, run some tests, check a sub-part of your DataMiner system and tell you whether or not it's configured correctly. Right, so a bit like when we showed in a previous kata the DIS validator in Visual Studio, which does a whole bunch of validation on your code. Yep. This is more, let's validate your actual DataMiner system. Correct. Let's check memory, CPU, maybe processes, other stuff, but we're going to be showing or looking at, and actually they can follow along with this, right? They can follow along. Do they need some specific DataMiner version prerequisites? Well, you need the latest feature release, so 10.4.5, because the BPA was only released in that feature release, but besides of that...
Brand new.
It will be
brand new tech.
It will be there and you can run it.
Nice, okay, so indeed, brand new tech. Make sure you've got the latest feature release. It should definitely be in there at the time of you watching. I guess we'll jump in and maybe let's have a look at this new BPA. Sorry, I love how prepared you were, by the way, to know I was going to ask BPA. Great. Excellent.
So I'll jump into my security testing DataMiner agent.
Right. Okay.
Waiting for the cube to pop up.
Yeah, sure. So these BPAs, are they're located at a specific section of DataMiner? You can access them there?
So as you will see, I will go to the system center, which is mainly
meant for configuration
administrators. And in there, I will go to the agents tab. And in the agents tab, there is a section specifically for BPAs.
Right, where all of those different, I guess, scripts that do validation.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go to the system center here, and then I'll go to my agents, and as you can see, it's a single agent. I'll go to the BPA section.
Indeed. So we've got a nice tab
in here. You can see there are several BPAs, but the one that we're interested in is this Security Advisory Bpa. This is the newly released BPA. Okay. So I will just run it now. We wait a bit, and once it reports back its findings, we can start having a look at what we can improve to the system.
So the Security Advisory BPA, so it's going to give you advice on possible things that might not be completely secure on a specific server or setup. Yeah. So
we have the results.
Okay, and pretty quick.
We can expand this maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the window is bigger.
The window is bigger, that's true, but no scaling text in there.
That's okay.
All right. So in general, you can see that it only passed one of the 4 sections.
Okay, that's not good.
Not great.
That's bad.
That's quite bad.
What are you giving us? What horrible agent?
So as you can see, the system I'm using uses storage as a service.
Yes.
There is nothing to do for that. So it's secure by default. So in here we passed the check. But then we can have a look at, for example, IAS. HTTPS is configured, which is great, but as you can see, HTTP is still available.
Yes.
We can make it either not available or do some other changes to make sure that people start using HTTPS rather than HTTP.
Right.
There are some other things reported. For example, there are some legacy components that are no longer maintained by us that are still active. So if I'm not using those, I can just disable them if I am using them. I should start looking towards the new alternatives.
Right, I can see reports and the old reports and dashboards,
So
annotations.
I might, if I was still using the old reporter and dashboard, I might want to look into migrating to the new low-code apps.
And yeah.
Indeed. And then you can see there's a whole bunch of firewall ports that are open, but since this agent is not really part of a cluster, I can actually close them because there's less of a
risk there then. You're
Yeah.
locking things down a bit more.
Indeed. It also reports that I do not need, for example, the ports for Cassandra or Elasticsearch.
Well, and if you follow this, you know, you close those things down, but eventually imagine you do put that agent in a cluster and you run this thing again, would it still give you that warning? Or
So it will check whether or not your agent is in a cluster.
Right.
And if the firewall ports are configured not correctly for
your
being
setup?
in a cluster,
Yeah.
so if they are closed and they need to be open, it will also be shown in here.
Okay. Good.
You will most likely notice some degraded experience with your DataMiner agent.
I'm gonna guess if you've closed them down and you add an agent. So
Indeed.
okay, but it is about making things secure, locking things down.
Correct.
Okay.
Then at the end, it also points you to the DataMiner hardening guide. This is on our documentation where each of these sections is documented and points to some other documentation on how you can fix the actual issue.
All right, so that's kind of your, as it says in the name, the guide that will guide you through how to handle these different situations that you might encounter.
So what I prefer to do is I run this BPA, I just look, okay, in IIS I have some things to fix, and then I go to the hardening guide, which I can do right now.
Yeah, because IIS mostly about, you know, internet services, so it's HTTP, SSL, HTTP, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Indeed, I do know indeed a common issue that happens is you enable the SSL certification and HTTPS, but you do indeed forget to disable HTTP.
Correct. So this is exactly the case that I have as well.
Right.
So this is the hardening guide, and it starts with use the BPA tests, because otherwise you have to go through this list.
That's a big
and
one.
You have to check, okay, which ports are open in the firewall, which ones are closed, which ones should be open and closed.
Right.
Just run the BPA and it will tell you.
Focus on that section of the guide, focus on that section.
Then you can move to the section. So I will first go to HTTPS, for example, and in here, one of the things that was reported was that HTTP was still enabled.
Yes.
I want to fix that, so I'll go specifically in here to HTTP to HTTPS redirection.
Right.
So this will allow me to basically have every call made to the HTTP endpoint just redirect to HTTPS, and that's it.
That's good. So it's completely explained, which is good, because I, from experience, know that those redirection rules can be...
They can be quite hard to get right.
Yes,
they can I struggled in the past as well.
to get them completely right.
Okay. So this has these configuration changes have to be made on the server where the agent is running.
Remote desktop.
I now remote desktop into my the server where the agent is running.
Right.
And I will go to IIS.
Okay.
In here, we now go to the default website, which is the one that DataMiner uses. And we go to the URL rewrite. In here you can see there is already a rewrite rule available for user-definable APIs, but we want to add a new rule.
A generic one, HTTP to HTTPS.
Yeah, so we choose for an inbound rule and a blank one specifically.
Right, okay.
And we just call it HTTPS redirect. And we need to provide some kind of pattern.
And that's the one that causes most of the problems, but I'm gonna guess...
It is in here.
Excellent.
We just copy this. Make sure to take the parentheses with you. I've had this exact issue in the past where I forgot to take into account the brackets.
Yes.
So we take them, and that should be fine. Then after that, we have to define some condition.
Indeed.
So we go in there into the conditions. We add a new one. it should be the HTTPS one, and the pattern, if I recall correctly, is just off.
Off. Okay.
We apply that, and then we still need some action, which will be a redirect action, of course.
Yes, that redirects it to the HTTPS
To
of the same
HTTPS
incoming
of the
URL.
same
Yeah.
URL. So I'll use pentesting.skyline.local. The host name needs to be present in the HTTPS certificate that you're using, otherwise you will redirect to a site for which the certificate is not valid.
Yeah, like an internal IP or something.
Yeah,
and
that might not work correctly.
Yeah, some certificates allow it, but I don't think most modern ones are like, yeah.
You can have a certificate that allows it, but make sure to test it properly.
Yeah.
And I will put it on found 302 response.
Okay.
Now, if we apply this, we can also quickly check this by going to HTTP specifically. And as you can see, it automatically redirected to the HTTPS endpoint.
So the benefits of this, particularly then when it comes to security, because I know that you have tools like Wireshark who allow you to check what passes through your network, and with HTTP you just see it plain text. With HTTPS
So
you don't.
If you were to sign in on the sign-in page of DataMiner over HTTP, it will give you a warning. But if you were to do that, then somebody with Wireshark running or just sniffing the network, like the IT admins, whatever, they can just see your username and your password fly by and
just grab
it out and
but
impersonate
this
you.
redirection kind of ensures you as an IT specialist of your company could then make sure like, hey, I just don't allow it. Anyone that does it it'll work, but it'll redirect to it.
It's a more user-friendly way. You could also just block it, but then people will see, hey, this page is not available.
Yes.
It's a more user-friendly way because as an end user, I don't really care whether or not
of course,
I'm redirected. I just want to end up on the site.
For the user, you like HP, HPS, who cares? I just want my data, I want to look at it. So having it in the background redirect to a more secure, encrypted way is just better.
It's an easy win. So
nice, an easy
let's
win.
go for it.
And now indeed, if you're going to rerun this, I'm going to guess.
I didn't restart the IIS website yet because I also want to, while I was in IIS, I also want to fix these few issues. These are just a few HTTP headers that you can set to make the website specifically a bit more secure.
Okay.
So now I can go in here to the hardening guide, and as you can see, we also recommend to set a few HTTP headers, starting with the strict transport security.
All right.
Again, we can go to IIS, and we go to the HTTP response headers section, where we can easily add a new one. So if we go for strict transport security, and the value can be max h equals, let's say, 3000. This is in seconds, and this header will basically tell your browser, hey, right now you connected over HTTP or HTTPS. In the future, just don't try HTTP anymore. Just instantly go for HTTPS.
Alright, so it kind of gives a little label or warning. Like it allows you to go to it, but it's gonna...
the browser will actually, if you specify HTTP specifically, instead of going to there and then have the redirect, the browser will do the redirect immediately. So it saves you a round trip of time.
Right. Instead of going and redirecting, it's redirecting the browser.
The browser is doing it. So this setting is basically telling the browser to do this.
Cool, okay.
So we can set this one already. And then there are the other ones, the X-frame options, which tell you whether or not the site you're accessing can be loaded into an iframe. Usually this is not allowed by having it set to deny. You can allow it for websites that come off the same domain if you want to do that.
Right.
And then you can use the same origin value.
Okay.
I'm not going to use this, so I put it to deny.
Right, so these are from the many headers available. You've picked out the ones that you know, okay, these will definitely increase the security of your DataMiner agent, of your system.
Yeah, and the ones that I know for sure that won't affect any functionality.
Right, also
because there are some others that you can set, like these ones here below, but for these it's not certain that they will not break anything. So
right,
you can set them, but it's
well, yeah, that's the
you
thing.
should first do some research.
Yes, this as everything security related, you're trying to cut off and make things more secure, but sometimes functionality in DataMiner does need ports that are open. It does need some access to just be able to work. So I think it's always that balance of, you know, what can we do to harden my system without breaking the system?
Yeah, and for the first ones, it's easy to say, okay, you need to have these values.
And the other
but for the other ones, you might need to tailor them a bit before they work correctly. So yeah, it's less generic. And then I will also set the last header, which tells the browser how to handle attachments. So if you send an image, you can send an image, and there are multiple ways to detect if it's an image. Either you can just look at the HTTP header that says, hey, this is an image, or you can look at the data that you retrieved and search for what we call, I think they're called the magic bytes.
Okay.
But of course, if you say, hey, it's an image, but I send you an executable, and I look at the magic bytes, then the browser will recognize it as an executable and not an image.
Okay.
And that might potentially be harmful. So with this header, we're telling the browser that you should not look at the magic bytes, just trust the HTTP headers that I sent you with the data that is coming in. Okay,
so kind of feels the opposite. It kind of feels like you're disabling a part of the security with this one, or am I mistaken that? Because I'm gonna guess checking the content with the bytes of the incoming, that was meant to make sure that...
No, so it's not there's no validation happening. So it either looks at the data that is being sent over, so at the binary blob, or at the header.
Okay.
It's not cross-validating.
Right. Okay, I get it. it. Okay.
So usually we want to the server tells I'm sending over JSON, for example.
Right.
You're gonna trust.
Yeah, with this you're saying, okay, look at what the content type is that they define in the call.
Exactly.
And don't worry about the magic bytes getting added, because okay, cool.
All right. So now we set these headers as well. In order for them to take effect, we can just click here, restart the site. This takes like 1 second, not even. And now, in theory, if we rerun this BPA, these issues should now be fixed, and it should no longer report them.
Okay. Yeah. That's amazing. That's epic. So now this script doesn't actually do anything on your system, right?
No.
So it just does a read action and checks everything?
It checks, but it doesn't change anything because
So it's perfectly safe. You can run that as many times as you want.
Exactly.
Is it heavy on the system to run that? Should you check like, okay, do I need to do that during on a production system when it's more of a downtime? Is that a thing?
I don't think there's a significant impact.
Okay.
Because you don't run this like 17 times in a minute. You run it once,
and then
hopefully
check the
and
content.
then you check the content, and then you can see HTTP test now has passed, and the headers test we passed as well.
Okay, so 2 out of 4 sections done.
Yeah, correctly.
And that's kind of then the flow you follow. So you would go into the next section, go back to your guide, follow the guide.
Yeah, exactly.
Do rinse and repeat.
Yeah. There is some indication of how critical or important a certain issue is. For example, like the one we fixed with the HTTP headers is considered medium or low because there are some improvements, but they won't make the system impenetrable or anything. There are other ones, for example, Yeah, like having the legacy components enabled, I consider that as a high.
Okay. Strange, but explain.
Yeah, they are no longer maintained. So if
Okay.
a certain vulnerability would be discovered, and there's even no guarantee that one would be discovered because nobody is looking at that code anymore,
Right.
then there won't be a fix available for it.
Okay, so pretty much because development has stopped,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
means
Yeah.
if something were to go wrong or something is
Yeah.
found that
And there
can
is-
be abused.
Yeah, and there are no eyes on it anymore.
Right.
A bit the same like you shouldn't use Windows XP anymore.
True. Yeah. I think
A lot of people still
do
it,
that, but yeah.
yeah, ideally you shouldn't.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So okay. Well,
I still have some work to do with the system.
indeed. But yeah,
Eventually.
I think the workflow is kind of clear. Like I
Yep.
said, so you go to the BPA's page on your agent, you run that specific BPA.
Yeah.
If you are learning on the latest feature release,
Right.
you'll be able to see all of the things. I'm guessing the BPA gets extended over time.
Yeah, so the goal
you-
is to keep this BPA up to date. For example, if new features are added that might require some configuration, or
Yeah.
if new modules go end of life, then
You'll-
they will be added in there. If a new port is
Okay.
required, whatever, we will just keep this up to date.
So, okay. Well, okay, let's have the people who are doing this
Yeah.
exercise, this kata, which could be on a production,
it could be
technically, for once. This is something you could actually do on a production agent. I would say actually, before I ask them to take a screenshot of this, is there anything in there that should not leave the company? Should
We thought of that. So if you
Okay.
use, for example, a local or Cassandra cluster, it will also check if you're using, for example, the default super user, the Cassandra one,
Yeah,
or if the password that is configured is a secure one.
yeah.
But the message
won't-
that is displayed is generic.
Okay,
So it
okay.
just tells you the user or the credentials configured for Cassandra are not the most secure ones.
Okay, I
We-
just wanted to
yeah.
make sure before in a thing about in a
Yeah.
kata about security.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I tell people to screenshot something and it has
Yeah.
their passwords in it, that would be a little embarrassing.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, no. There's
Okay,
no
so it's
passwords in there.
fine. It's fine
Yeah.
to take a screenshot of this and send it in to Skyline to
Yeah.
us.
If you're really sensitive, then you could, for example, blur out certain sections like the ports that are open.
Right.
That's fine as well.
Go for
But-
it. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in there that should really.
Well, actually, how about this?
bother you.
If you take a screenshot that you ran this BPA, we'll give you the usual DevOps points. But I'm gonna say something now. That was not agreed previously. I'm still gonna do it. If you send in a screenshot where you ran this and it's 4 out of 4, everything
Yeah.
is perfect, we'll double your points.
All right. So
We'll do that.
you could run it, make some fixes,
I'll talk.
run it again, and then take the screenshot.
You could do that too.
Get
That's
double the
fine.
points.
Well, okay. Triple them. No, I'll have a talk with the boss after the video. But I think if you can showcase that you've ran that BPA and your system is actually hardened as far as we can do it with the BPA here, I mean, I think that's value enough. We'll give you double the DevOps points for that because it is an important part of the ecosystem, hardening it against any intrusions.
Alright.
Seppe, thank you very much for making some time and actually showing
Yeah,
us all
thanks
of
for,
this.
for giving me the platform.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to see. And then everyone watching, if you have any topics or interesting things you'd like to learn more about, things in DataMiner that you work in and you really want to know more about, send then that topic request. We'll make a kata out of it, an exercise out of it, and we'll help you figure things out even more. So don't hesitate and send in any topics you'd like to know about. Other than that, if you're watching from YouTube, don't forget, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. And yeah, I think I'll catch you on the next one then. Goodbye.
Bye.